Next day, we sit. Yeah, and Shannon Dawn has been to her on different days. Yeah. So whatever day we finish.
Michael, speak up! Good morning to everyone in this honorable house. First of all, let me give respect to God, which indeed in charge ahead of my life to allow me to be, and all of us in this house, one more time. Pray and read the scripture lesson. You know, the Prime Minister is in here. I would like to wish him a happy belated birthday. And my dear friend, the Member of Parliament for Fort Charlotte, Alfred says, the Honorable, I want to say to you, my prayers are with you at this time. And remember that God do everything best. And I pray that God will strengthen you and your family at this time, and God will give your daughter a complete healing and deliverance. Let us look at Psalms 103. It said, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is with me. Bless his holy name. It said, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefit. I want to drop down to verse 13. This is the powerful one here. Like as a father protect his child, so the Lord protect them that fear him. And I want to say this morning, just to drop a nugget in here this morning, bless the Lord at all times. His praises shall be continued in your mouth. When the devil strike you one side, look to the left. Remember that all you need to do is have faith in God. Bow your heads on your chest. Let us look to the Lord in prayer. Oh, gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you, God, on this day. God, we ask you, God, to intervene upon us right now. Precious Lord, take our hands, God, and lead us on to Canaan fair and happy land, God, where our possession lies. Father God, in the mighty name of Jesus, God, we ask you, God, to have thy own way in this place, God. God, we decree and we declare blessings upon the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, God. God, and I pray, God, for every member of Parliament in this place, God. You know them by name and by nature, God. Anyone that's sick among us, God, touch them right now, God, from the crown of their head to the very sole of their feet. God, we ask you, God, to move by thy miraculous power. We decree peace in this place, God, and we pray, God, that everything we done in this place today, God, will be done in decency and order. In the name of Jesus, God, we pray. And for the glory of God, let everybody say, and thou hast taught us to say, children, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, may the peace of God be with you that passes all understanding.
Honorable members, at the break yesterday, we were debating the appropriation revenue bill. Dr. Chair.
I've received consent from the opposition for an intervention for communication to be delivered by the Member of Parliament for Engliston, relevant to an illustrious lady of our country, after which the opposition intends to reply.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Engliston.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I thank the loyal opposition for joining with the government for this, allowing for this intervention to bring to the attention of the nation the importance of the date of June 10th in our national history. On that date in 1982, 40 years ago, one Janet Gwinnett Bostwick, a daughter of our Bahamian soil, a rare female candidate in the general elections of that year, emerged victorious at the polls, becoming the first woman ever to sit in this honorable chamber. The election of Janet Bostwick represented a shattering of what had theretofore been a glass ceiling, and indeed a busting through of solid barrier to women, and would represent an inspirational achievement to girls and women everywhere and in every sphere, including myself. She was the manifestation of the possible. Her attainment was the culmination of years of collective struggle by the many women who came before her, most notably those giants of the suffragette movement, a pantheon of courageous and visionary women who confronted the status quo, demanding equal voting rights for women. On February 23, 1961, a bill to enable women to vote was enacted with effect from the June 30th, 1962. Bahamian women voted for the first time on November 26, 1962. The right to vote for women was finally won, but it would be all of 20 years later before a woman would be elected to become the first female political voice and representative in this House of Assembly. That woman was Janet Gwinnett Bostwick. Janet Gwinnett Bostwick Nee Musgrove was born in Nassau to Nick and Lois Musgrove. In 1957, she began working as a stenographer in the legal department of the Bahamas, and by 1960 had become the private secretary of the Attorney General. In 1961, she married John Henry Bostwick, and they subsequently had 4 children. Between 1966 and 1971, she served as administrative officer of the legal department and was articled to the Solicitor General, later the Attorney General, and was made a counsel and attorney and admitted to the Bahamas Bar in 1971. Through 1974, she served as Crown Counsel, simultaneously serving as Crown Prosecutor, leaving the government service in 1975 for private law practice. Between 1980 and 1981, she became the first woman to serve as president of the Bar Association. During her presidency, she led in the adoption and promulgation of the Bahamas Bar Act. Throughout her employment in the public service, Bostwick was an active member of the Public Service Union, serving as shop steward for the legal department on the executive and as a Secretary General from 1967 to 1971. In 1977, Bostwick was appointed as a senator, and in 1982, she ran as a candidate of the Free National Movement, winning her race and thereby, as I've stated, becoming the first woman to serve in the House of Assembly. For the next 20 years, she served as MP for the Yamakor constituency. She championed family law, women's and children's rights, and played a pivotal role in bringing about significant changes to the Matrimonial Causes Act in 1978, the Affiliation Proceedings Act in 1981, and sponsoring the Female Employees Grant of Maternity Leave Act in 1988, and the Sexual Offenses and Domestic Violence Act 1991, the Inheritance Act, and the Status of Children Act. She was appointed Minister of National Insurance, Housing, and Social Service from 1992 to 1994, and served from 1994 to 1995 as Minister of Justice and Immigration. Between 1994 and 2002, she served for 2 periods as Attorney General and simultaneously served as Minister of Foreign Affairs in 1994 and Minister with Responsibility for Women Affairs 1992 to 2002. Her appointment as Attorney General marked the first time a woman had served in that capacity in the Bahamas and in the region. In 1998, when the Prime Minister and his deputy were both absent from the country, Bostwick became the first woman to act as Prime Minister. In 2002, she lost her re-election bid to Melanie Griffin, former member of this House. In 2011, Bostwick became the deputy to the Governor General. Bostwick served as president of the Free National Movement Women's Association, president of the International Caribbean Women for Democracy, and served on the executive committee of the Girl Guides, the Girls Brigade, and she presently serves as patron of the Girls Brigade. In 2012, she was honored as our nominee of the International Woman of Courage Award. She is a recipient of the Rotary Paul Harris Award. The Janet Bostwick Medal for Women in the Foreign Service is named after her. In October 2018, she was made Companion of the Order of the Bahamas, and in December 2018, she was made Dame Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. On receipt of this latter award, Dame Janet is quoted as saying, and I quote, "I thank the Bahamian people for this award. In accepting the damehood, I was pointedly reminded of the still continuing struggle of Bahamian women to remove every vestige of inequality and discrimination from not only our nation's national life, but from the very personal relationships of women, whether in their homes or on the job. I reiterate my commitment to continue to serve to enhance the standard and quality of life of all of our people." Most recently, Dame Janet has been named the 2021 recipient of the prestigious CARICOM Triennial Award for Women. The award is bestowed every 3 years. Dame Janet joins a short list, 13 in all, with Dame Janet's selection being the 13th, of distinguished Caribbean women to have received the award. Previous recipients include Dame Nita Barrow of Barbados, Madam Justice Desiree Bernard of Guyana, Miss Marion Bethel of the Bahamas, and Miss Shirley Price of Jamaica, the 2017 recipient. The CARICOM communique in announcing this award advised as follows, and I quote, "The CARICOM Triennial Award for Women is bestowed upon Caribbean women who have made significant contributions to the socio-economic development of the Caribbean community and to the advancement of gender equality and women's empowerment. The award honors contributions in a wide range of fields of endeavors, including agriculture, economics, law, politics, gender and development, religion, public service, and trade unionism." The CARICOM further notes, and it repeats some of what I've said, but I think it's important to see what their observations are. She has the distinction of having achieved several firsts in her career. These include first female Secretary General of the Bahamas Public Services Union, President of the Bar Association, Chairman of the Bar Council, Member of Parliament following her election in '82, Attorney General, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and also the first female to act as Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Dame Janet's activism on women's issues, and this is CARICOM saying this, is steeped. It started in the mid-1960s and continued throughout her political career. As a trade unionist, she campaigned to improve the status of women, primarily because of the inequities they face. These range from the pay gap with men, non-existent maternity benefits, to job insecurity at the time. Once admitted to the bar, she became even more vocal. She advocated to audiences in churches, women's groups, and unions for more participation of men in the rearing of children, increased maintenance, and for a resolution of issues associated with children born out of wedlock, including improved custody and the administration of justice for children and young persons, and for changes in legislation around sexual offenses, domestic violence, and matrimonial matters. In pursuit of the quest for women's rights, and this is a CARICOM, between 1992 to 94, she led the Bahamian delegation at the OAS Inter-American Commission of Women and served on its executive committee. Since 1994, she served on the Executive Committee of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. In 1995, she served as a regional vice chairman of the Bureau of the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women in Beijing, China. At this conference, she was a head of the delegation of the Bahamas, and the Bahamas was unanimously selected to coordinate the Caribbean region. In this capacity, she presided at all CARICOM meetings. Dame Janet is a bold and courageous Bahamian woman. She has been and is to this day a fighter for human rights.
Yes.
Because as we are reminded by Hillary Rodham Clinton in a speech given on September 5th, 1995, at that very conference that Dame Janet attended, human rights are women's rights, and women's rights are human rights. Dame Janet, by her qualitative involvement in the political life of this nation, advanced legislation for the protection of women and children against violence and for the promotion of women as equal human beings. She helped to raise the consciousness and compassion of a developing people. She is a highly accomplished woman, as you would have heard, and a patriot extraordinaire. We are grateful for her life and her service. On Friday coming, which is June 10th, 2022, 40 years to the day of her election, and under the auspices of the Bahamas branch of the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians, chaired by the member for Seabreeze, sitting and former women parliamentarians and other women of varying distinction will gather along with Dame Janet Bostwick herself in celebration of this great Bahamian woman. I ask this House to join with me in salute to Dame Janet Bostwick.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Order that the communication be brought up. Order that document do lie on the table. The chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Marco City.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The opposition joins with the government in saluting an outstanding Bahamian, the Right Honourable Dame Janet Bostwick, on the 40th anniversary of her election to this House. The Right Honourable Janet Gwyneth Bostwick is a legend in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Her career is filled with significant firsts, and her footsteps have paved a radiant road for other Bahamians, both women and men, to follow. Dame Janet is the consummate politician, and her accomplishments in this field have inspired many of us throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We are delighted to join the Bahamas branch of the Commonwealth Women's Parliamentarians in celebrating the 40th anniversary of Dame Janet's election to Parliament on June 10. The Caribbean community has recognized Dame Janet as a model politician and a pioneer among women in the region. She is admired and respected as a champion for the empowerment of women, not only here at home and in this region, but internationally. The United States has also recognized Dame Janet, calling her a matriarch of women's rights. It is with great joy and pride that we in the Free National Movement once again raise our voices in conjunction with our colleagues to celebrate this bulwark of our party, this lioness of liberty and equality, this warrior for women who has given so much to our country and our party. Janet Musgrove was born in Nassau to Nick and Louis Musgrove on October 30th, 1939. She was called to the Bahamas Bar in 1971, serving as Crown Consul through 1974, while also serving as Crown Prosecutor. In 1980, there was yet another venerable first. She became the first woman to serve as the president of the Bar Association. She embarked on her storied political career at a crucial time in the development of the modern Bahamas. She was appointed as a senator in 1977. It was the first time she had run and was unsuccessful, but came back in 1982 and ran as a candidate for the Free National Movement, winning her race and becoming the first woman elected to serve in the House of Assembly. While this accomplishment was a feather in the cap for the FNM, it was truly inspirational for women, no matter what their political colors were. And she served with distinction for the next 20 years. Janet Bostwick served as the MP for Yamakraw, and of course, she supported and later sponsored landmark legislation, including the Matrimonial Causes Act, 1978, the Affiliations Proceeding Act, 1981, the Bar Act, 1981, the Female Employees Act of 1988, and this was the act that the grant of maternity leave, and the Sexual Offences Act she was a contributor to, 1991. She served variously as Minister of Social Services, Housing and Labor and National Insurance, and the Minister of Justice and Immigration between 1995 and 2001. She served as Attorney General, and another first for Bahamian women, and simultaneously as Minister of Foreign Affairs in 1995, and the Minister of Women's Affairs from 1995 to 2001. This champion of women's issues led the Bahamas delegation at OAS Inter-American Commission of Women between 1992 and 1994, and served on the OAS body's executive committee. Beginning in 1994, she served on the executive committee of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women. And in 1995, she served as the regional vice chairperson of the Bureau of the United Nations 4th Conference of Women on Women in Beijing, China. At this conference, she was head of the delegation of the Bahamas, and the Bahamas was unanimously selected to coordinate the Caribbean region. In this capacity, she presided at all CARICOM meetings. Dame Janet had many firsts. Her list of firsts continued when in 1988, while Prime Minister Ingram and his deputy were both absent from the country, Dame Janet Bostwick became the first woman to act as Prime Minister. Her career continued even after she lost her re-election bid to Melanie Griffin in 2002, when in 2011, Bostwick became the Deputy Governor General. Janet Bostwick served as president of the Free National Movement's Women's Association, president of the International Caribbean Women for Democracy, and on the executive committee of Girls Brigade. In 2012, she was honored as the Nassau's recipient of the International Women of Courage Award. This award is the United States Department's highest award for female leaders. The Janet Bostwick Medal for Women in the Foreign Service is named in her honor. Dame Janet's extraordinary career does not only include firsts in politics. She also served as the first woman Secretary General of the Bahamas Public Service Union. In fact, throughout her tenure as both trade unionist and politician, she campaigned to improve the status of women, advocating for issues including ensuring that we close the pay gap with men. Non-existent maternity benefits was a matter she addressed. She also pursued job security, more participation of men in raising children, and increased maintenance for a resolution of issues associated with children born out of wedlock, including improved custody and the administration of justice for children and young persons. And she also vigorously fought for changes in legislation around sexual offenses, domestic violence, and matrimonial matters. One can see the synergy between the issues for which she advocated as a trade unionist and the legislation she sponsored or supported as a cabinet minister and even prior to such an appointment. She consistently sought to live a life of integrity, putting her money, one would say, where her mouth was. She received her appointment as Dame Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire in 2019 at an investiture at Buckingham Palace. Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, officiated at the ceremony. As noted, Dame Janet is married to former parliamentarian, Senate President, and opposition leader, John Henry Boswick. And the couple has 4 remarkable children: Margot, Kelly, Lisa, and John. She also has 5 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. And as all of us are aware, 2 of their siblings served in the Parliament of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Of note, despite being a graduate of AF Adley, it is important to know that she was head girl of the government high school. Dame Janet was born into a strong and very smart family that are fiercely loyal to each other. Their attributes are clearly seen in her immediate family, who she loves dearly. As mentioned earlier, she is a patriot, a nationalist, a human rights exemplar, and she has at critical times certainly contributed to my family's life, provided crucial advice and guidance, and provided practical help for which we are eternally grateful. But our story is not a unique story, for there are many Bahamians of different political colors who can attest to her generosity in terms of providing advice and guidance during difficult times, calling persons, whether to pray with them or to simply give them moral support. We appreciate her, and she's known for her works in politics, in trade unionism, but she's also known for her inspirational words that she shared with persons who go through difficult times, particularly females who have entered frontline, which has often been unfair to women, requiring women to live at a standard that men are not at all called to live up to. And she has demonstrated an incredible balance between public life and family life. And for that, we all appreciate her. We love and appreciate this God-fearing giant who continues to serve with excellence, distinction, and a quality often missing in politics, humility. The Free National Movement is stronger for the contribution of Dame Janet Boswick. We've leaned on her wisdom, strength, and political acumen for 4 decades. And she has never let us down. We celebrate her unstintingly, and we hold her up as an example for all to follow. Dame Janet has shown us what it means to fight for what you believe. And we heard one of our colleagues said recently that once you are in a position of influence, you have an obligation to deliver. And the truth is, she has matched her actions with her words. It has gone well beyond rhetoric. She has shown us that it is possible to be a person of the utmost conviction and live up to those convictions even in the midst of political upheaval. One of the things that strike many of us who have been in politics for a long time is that she and her family had often come under fire, but her response was always measured and dignified despite the personal pain. They say politics is dirty. Well, Dame Janet has shown us that it need not be, and that it is possible to be an extremely effective politician while at the same time maintaining one's dignity, integrity, and honor. As we celebrate the 40th anniversary of our election to this honorable place, it is our prayer that each of us who are blessed to be in this place, that we take heed of her example, and that we elevate our mind and actions to give the best service we can to the people that we love, just like Dame Janet. This is certainly our commitment in the Free National Movement, and we join with members of the government and the wider Bahamian public in celebrating this incredible Bahamian. Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Member, would you like to table your document? Order that the document be brought up. Order the document to lie on the table.
Thank you.
The chair recognizes the Honorable Member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We can now revert to the debate.
Thank you, Honorable Member. At the suspension, we were debating the appropriation revenue account bill. I presume that we are ready. The chair recognizes the Honorable Member for Fort Charlotte.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on a personal note, with your leave, I just want to say that on the 5th of June, Sunday, the lives of 7 families in our country was interrupted in the most tragic way when we received calls that our loved ones were in a plane crash in Long Island. And I just cannot imagine the pain, the anguish, the hurt, and the loss of Alethea Newbold's family, her father Sean and mother Anastasia, and her infant child. And on behalf of my family, I want to extend condolences and love to her family, because in a time of festivity, regatta, and doing what we all do, take planes daily to lose one's loved one. And I just want to have the family know that we stand in solidarity with them today and in the future. I also, Madam Speaker, had the occasion to see upon the arrival the survivors. The survivors, Leanka, Rigby, Alicia Roll, Rhiannon Thomas, Patty Higgs, Nia Bethel Sears, and Bradley McPhee, the pilot. I also know personally the relief of the families of the survivors. We often talk about each other, sometimes about trivial things and perceived differences, But, Madam Speaker, I am humbled, grateful for the courageous rescue, intervention, and help of so many people in Long Island. The two persons on the scene, Sergeant Fernando Knowles and Mr. Duncan Love, a volunteer. Long Island Administrator, Miss Kathy Smith, the Chief Counselor, Mr. Ian Knowles, Superintendent Kevin McGregor and his team, Doctors Hillgrove Lightbourne and Mona Lisa Wilmer, Nurse Cheryl Adams and her team, Mr. Stephen Knowles, who was at the airport waiting for a plane to pick him up. And when I called him, he telephoned the pilot on the plane, said, "Don't land. Go into the area and identify the site." And he and his cousin and other volunteers went with cutlass, backhoe to find the site. Volunteers from the Long Island community, scores and scores of volunteers put themselves at risk to find the site of the crash. And I say to all of the volunteers, all of them, Terrell Young, who I call and went as well, all of them, we are so grateful. We are so thankful. I also wish, Madam Speaker, to extend on behalf of the community of Fort Charlotte condolences to members of the Fort Charlotte community who passed, and Reginald Turnquest, who operated a entertainment center right on Chippingham Road. His sister is an administrator in our community center. He was a fixture in Chippingham, and we shall miss him. Mary Allen of Samuel Addition. Allen I know quite well. We extend sympathy to her family, as well as to the family of Elizabeth Bevins of Rampart Close. Love and support to all of these family members who are grieving today. As we give condolences, we also give praise for those like yourself who have experienced a birthday in the recent past, and our dear Prime Minister, whose birthday was yesterday. In Fort Charlotte, Jaron Nesbitt, Monson Village, Tyrone Wright of Samuel Addition, and also Clint Daxon of Samuel Addition. Madam Speaker, I just want to say to the Fort Charlotte community, which I'm privileged to represent, that we will be starting on June 13th, sign language classes at the community center. And those classes will be run by Miss Rose Ramming, because it's incumbent upon us to really ensure diversity, inclusiveness of all of our people. And I will also try to make some of those classes so that I can learn how to communicate much better than I can do now. We will celebrate Father's Day with a chill and grill on the 18th of this month at the Sean Simonet Park in the afternoon. And to say thank you to the fathers in our community. Our 21st annual Fort Charlotte Summer Camp will be held between June 27th and July 28th, and that will be held, those sessions will be held at the T.G. Glover Primary School and coordinated again by Mrs. Christine Johnson. We also, on the 13th of July, will begin again the Fort Charlotte Orchestra. And we want to really teach our young people how to read music, how to play and collaborate together in the creativity and fantastic cultural activity of making music. We also have a cooperative farm. And I just want to commend the 50+ persons who have joined this cooperative and our coordinators, Sonia Storr and Lynette Isaacs. I just want to say that I am honored today to rise as the Minister of Works and Utilities and as the member for the great constituency of Fort Charlotte to add my contribution to the 2022-23 budget statement. To this honorable House, pursuant to the Public Financial Management Act, Fiscal Management Act, and Fiscal Responsibility Act. In so doing, Madam Speaker, I would wish to make a very general observation on what is normally referred to as the budget. In the minds of many, it is just a debate and an opportunity to address national issues. And so sometimes there is remoteness to the process. But I maintain that for the average citizen, the question may very well be asked, what is in this budget for me personally? How do I benefit? And to such persons, let me just say that while a budget is framed in terms of national macro policies, plans, and strategies, and fiscal framework, it is a document which at its core affects every single woman, man, child throughout our Commonwealth. And it is against this background that I wish to assure all of our citizens, but in particular, my constituents in Fort Charlotte, that there is something in this budget, the first of this progressive Liberal Party government, for you. We have not forgotten the small person and families who are struggling. As this budget is unfolded and implemented, you will find, Madam Speaker, that this government has taken meticulous care to meet the needs of the citizens and to put the citizens first. One example of this is the real efforts being made by this government to ease the inflationary pressure on the average household by reducing custom duties on selected items which are essential to life of everyone. Already, this has begun to achieve results as several major food stores have publicly announced that because of the reduction of custom duties, starting this past Monday, June 6, customers will begin to see price reduced in the stores. The notice goes on to say that as it continues to receive new inventory on the products or on items that are now classified as duty-free, customers can expect to see the savings being passed on as they are received. Madam Speaker, this is but one way in which a budget, and in particular this budget, affects the small person, the average family, not only in New Providence, but throughout the archipelago of the Bahamas. Now, Madam Speaker, I turn to the ministry that I have the honor and privilege to lead, the Ministry of Works and Utilities. In the overarching mandate of the government, the Ministry of Works and Utilities has a fundamental responsibility for infrastructural planning and development for the entire Bahamas. Most importantly, from a broad perspective, this includes the construction and maintenance of airports, roads, bridges, docks, and ports, and storm water drains on a list of other priorities. As the Commonwealth of the Bahamas develops and assumes a wider range of activities, the responsibility of my ministry have increased correspondingly. We remain very aware that infrastructure is fundamental to public safety, to resiliency. It is a precursor for economic growth. And it is the foundation on which the livelihood of Bahamians throughout our archipelago depends. In so doing, Madam Speaker, the ministry fills a vital role in meeting the critical needs of each island and strengthening the entire Bahamas in the process, with the end goal of ensuring resiliency and sustainability through reconstruction. The ministry continues to utilize public and private partnerships, best practices, and cost reduction measures in new construction and maintenance of government assets. And this is why, Madam Speaker, we've made it, and certainly I have insisted throughout the ministry, that we invest in professional continuing development. Because construction, building, designing is not static. We're living at a time of a global technological revolution. New materials, construction materials, new techniques of construction, and also, Madam Speaker, new forms of energy. So our M&E section of the ministry have to be up to speed so that when a design comes in and it introduces in the Bahamas for the first time, And it's dealing with a new form of energy that our power company does not, until we open up the facility in Ragged Island, right? I mean, we've been going on diesel, bunker C, oil, and fossil fuel. But now we're living in this revolutionary time where we have the opportunity to use what God has given us in abundance, where we don't have to import it and spend over $1 billion a year importing oil and other forms of fossil fuel products. But God has blessed us, and with the technology, we have made a commitment to the Bahamian people, Madam Speaker, that by 2030, 30% of the power generated in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas will be from renewable sources. We envision that this synergy shall cause a result where the sum parts will be greater than the whole, as all of this is necessary for the upliftment and the sustainability of our people. Accessibility, Madam Speaker, to the best infrastructure goes hand in hand with economic development and improvement in all environments. And that is why, Madam Speaker, and this is not one party or the next, because when we open up the Angel Creek Bridge, we invite it. Because we're building, I mean, the government is continuous. And the government don't belong to one party, you know. The government belongs to all of us. That's why we call it common goods. It is a common good belonging to all of our people. And therefore, it was not really anything unusual for us. Because when I served in the Christie administration, when we went, we invited the opposition because you represent constituents as well, right? When we were trying to decide what name, Prime Minister pick up the phone and call Mr. Ingram, former Prime Minister, who comes from the area.
Former leader of the FNM.
So we are managing at this time public goods which belong to all of us. As simple as it might or may appear, the provision of docks is fundamental to the sustainability of our people, especially those domiciled in our family islands. Similarly, the provision of airports and airstrips is also fundamental to linking together all of the islands of the Bahamas so that a person as far south as Mayaguana may be able to travel as far north as Grand Bahama and all the islands in between without hindrance. In the same vein, the dredging of channels is fundamental, as without proper depth, mailboats cannot enter certain harbors, which again can impact the livelihood of persons living in such location. But Madam Speaker, what does it mean to be a sovereign country? It means that it doesn't matter the island we live on, we are all family. Because we hold that nationality that says, irrespective of the island on which we live, we are family. We're all one big family island, scattered throughout the archipelago. And it means that the government, if to maintain the family, that is why the Ministry of Transport in its budget, it subsidizes all of the mail boats with the exception of perhaps one. And that is because the government historically sees that as a family, And as a sovereign family, we have to be integrated. And integration requires an ability to move freely, to live wherever we want to live, to have the infrastructure. And I know when I served as Minister of Education, there was a concept that I had to live with every day, and that is called equity. I remember in Crooked Island, we had to provide transport for every student, and we had to provide a bus for one student, because that one student had an equitable claim on the common goods of the Bahamas as those living in the more populated islands. And that's what family is all about, that we provide as best we can the access, whether we're talking about roads, whether we're talking about docks. But in many of our family islands, Madam Speaker, the dock is the foundation of the economy. In our fishing communities, when they come, they need to be able to get their products off the boat in an expeditious way to the refrigeration or to the fish house so that it can be prepared, it could be processed for export or for other areas of the domestic market for consumption. So these are critical infrastructure to maintain the economy. And the Bahamas is a very unique country within our region because it has multiple economies. When you live in Abaco, you know that there is an economy within Abaco. And I know one of the reasons we push for reform of local government because Abaco gives more to the consolidated fund than it receives, right? And so I know people in Grand Bahama feel the same way. But the point is, what about those smaller communities? And we have that obligation of equity. And that's what being family. From the view of physical planning, my ministry is aware of the need for the proper implementation of physical planning, along with the properly managed land use throughout the archipelago. Given the history of hurricanes, flooding, and other related disasters, therefore, the built environment is critical to each island's abilities to sustain itself at a certain rate or level. And as a consequence, our infrastructure must be designed and built to be robust. Madam Speaker, September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd changed everything for us in 2019 because we had never experienced up to 200 miles an hour wind, tidal wave coming over the land of up to 20 feet and more, and having cyclones and other physical phenomena. In other words, Madam Speaker, it means that our physical planning, our building code, and our civil design have to be upgraded to meet this new reality. Within the broad framework of my ministry is also tasked with the energy mandate as articulated by the government in its blueprint for change. While I shall expound upon this a little later, I wish at this time to underscore the commitment of the ministry to ensure reliable sources of affordable, sustainable energy and moving to reduce reliance on fossil fuels, recommending the Bahamas to a minimum reliance on renewable energy of 30% by 2030, creating opportunities and incentives for entrepreneurs in renewable energy sources, especially solar, and implementing reverse metering to reduce BPL's consumption and incentivizing solar energy via tax reduction. And that is reflected in the budget, Madam Speaker. This is not a rhetorical statement. It is there in the budget incentives so that persons can bring in solar panels duty-free, can bring in batteries. All of these things are reflected in the budget. The provision of safe, portable, and accessible water is critical to life, health, and welfare. Here again, the Ministry of Works and the Water and Sewerage Corporation have a responsibility that myself and also my distinguished colleague, the Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Works and Member of Parliament for South Beach, will elaborate. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to advise that little Exuma will be receiving the distribution of potable water. But the priority at this time, Madam Speaker, is to restore those communities devastated by Hurricane Dorian, and to build with more resilience and infrastructure designed to be the foundation upon which profitable and sustainable future for the Commonwealth could rest. My ministry has taken into consideration the volatile emergence and present existence of global warming and how this reality impacts small island states like the Bahamas. We contribute the least to global warming, but we suffer the most from global warming. Our Prime Minister has emerged and continue as a champion of this cause. And as a grateful nation, we thank him for standing up for the national interests of the Bahamas. And therefore, Madam Speaker, it is in this context I present those projects planned by my ministry to provide the robust infrastructural improvement required to gird the post-COVID-19 economic boost to our economy and which our country so desperately need. There are a number of existing projects which I shall give an account. The Ministry of Works has an extensive number of ongoing and planned projects for the Family Islands. Most of these projects, Madam Speaker, would have commenced in 2020 and were affected by the onslaught of Hurricane Dorian and then COVID-19 pandemic and the aftermath of both events. We have resumed the projects, which are now all steadily progressing and some recently completed. The Grand Bahama Road Repairs and Carriageway Rehabilitation Project. This project was one of several Family Island road improvement projects that was awarded in 2020 and involved the reconstruction and repairs of approximately 8 miles of road in East, Central, and West Grand Bahama. The works were done in hot mix asphalt at a cost of $6.1 million. The contractor, WOW Construction of Grand Bahama, and the works are now approximately 97% completed. Always excellent job. Exuma Road Repair and Carriageway Rehabilitation Project. This is another road project which is part of the Family Island Road Improvement Program. This project was awarded in May 2020 to Caribbean Pavement Solutions Limited. Work started on the site on the third quarter of 2022. The project comprised of 10 miles of road rehabilitation from the Exuma Airport to the town center, including isolated repairs in other sections of the island. The project budget is $8.04 million. The works are 80% completed, approximately, and the final completion for this project is now expected to be around July next month, 2022. I'm able to inform this Honorable House that the government is near to entering into a PPP arrangement with the same contractors to complete an additional 45 miles of road. 45. And this additional work will include sidewalks, drainage, construction of seawalls, and other improvements at an approximate cost of $60 million to be completed within 2 years. Long Island Road repairs and Carriageway and Rehabilitation project. Another project in the Family Islands program, this time involving 5 miles of road repairs and rehabilitation, mainly in the north of Long Island from the Stella Maris Airport to Seymour's, and isolated sections in the south. The cost of this project was $4.3 million, and the contract was awarded to Bethel's Trucking and Heavy Equipment. Works commenced on the first quarter of 2021. The contractor was plagued with many setbacks, not to mention the COVID pandemic and many logistical issues. One of the setbacks was a change in the specifications, which required the contractor to source aggregate from outside of the Bahamas. The contractor has now been successful in sourcing the material out of Jamaica, and a barge with the material is on its way to Long Island, and the works will be restarted in the very near future. That work, Madam Speaker, is approximately 45% completed, and the final completion date is set for September 2022, all things being equal. There are a number of other works which are currently being scoped on the island of Long Island. Black Point, Exuma Road repairs and carriageway rehabilitation, the smallest of the Family Island Road projects, involving much needed repairs and reconstruction of over 3 miles of roads in Black Point at a cost of $1.5 million. The contract was awarded to Carib Construction and Project Management Limited. The project is substantially completed and is now in the defects liability period. The contractor has some snag items that need to be addressed before the final inspection is done. Harbour Island Road repairs and carriageway. This project, Madam Speaker, involves the reconstruction and repairs of over 6 miles of road in Harbour Island in P-Rock and Sand Seal. The project was awarded to Rowdy Boys Construction in February of 2021 at a cost of $2.65 million. The contractor worked earnestly, and the project was substantially completed in April of 2022. The project is now in the defects liability period. Central Andros Road Repair Project. This project involves the reconstruction of approximately 17.5 miles of main road from Fresh Creek to Bering Point in central Andros. The final surface is in P-rock and sand seal, and the cost of the project is expected to be $9.6 million. The contract was awarded to Apex Pavers Limited, and the work, which started in September 21, is now 35% completed. The South Andros Road Repairs and Carriageway Rehabilitation Project. This project involves the reconstruction of 19 miles of roads in South Andros along the main Queens Highway from Dredge Hill to Mars Bay in P-rock and sand seal. This project costs $8.54 million, and the contractor is KW Paving. The project started on the third quarter of 2021. The work had stopped for 3.5 months for logistical and supply issues. The contractor is now back on site, and the contract is approximately 30% completed, with final completion expected to be in early 23 rather. Madam Speaker, with both of these projects in Central and South Andros, during our visit, there were a number of concerns expressed by the residents and the local leaders in that community. And we are reviewing to see how the persons have been complaining about respiratory problems. There have also been a number of accidents, I understand. So we are reviewing that, and we will have further consultation and see what adjustments could and should be made. The dredging of channel between Mclean Town Dock and the Sweeting Key Dock, Grand Bahama. This project involves the maintenance dredging of the route channel between Mclean's Town Dock and Sweeting Key Dock, a distance of approximately 28,800 feet, and minimum depth of 5 feet by 20 feet wide. The contractor A&D Gators, Equipment Rock and Sand from Grand Bahama. The project is $375,000. The contractor faced many challenges, and the project officers in the ministry are presently reviewing how best to move on with the project. One option of which is, perhaps, engage a new contractor. The expected completion date, which was to have been July 2022, will be pushed back to a later date. We appreciate the importance of this particular project, as it means much to the livelihood and sustainability of the people in these communities in East Grand Bahama. And Madam Speaker, this is a project that I have taken very, very keen interest in, because I recall very vividly the tragic incident in 2003 thereabout, where we had the drowning of a number of students from Martintown Primary. And by being intimately involved, I see how critical this channel is, getting students to school on a daily basis and having to wait for high tide before you can get a float to carry you. So this is a very special case that we will pay close attention to, because we need people now, many of whom are climate refugees, to be able to go back to their keys and their islands and resume their normal life. Hatchet Bay Settlement Roads, Eleuthera. Repairs in P-Rock and sand seal to existing roads in Hatchet Bay Settlement of North Eleuthera is estimated to cost $862,000. The contract was awarded in March 2021 to Quick Fix Construction from Rock Sound, and the works were completed in September of 2021. In Tappan Bay Road repairs in P-Rock and sand seal to existing roads in the Tappan Bay settlement of South Eleuthera were estimated to be $800,000. Contract was awarded to New View Construction in August 2021, and the works were completed in May 2022. Governor's Harbour Settlement Road repairs to existing roads in Governor's Harbour Settlement of Central Eleuthera, estimated to cost $1,416,026.92. The works will be in the traditional P-Rock and sand seal. The contractor, New View Construction, was awarded this contract in August 2021. These works have not started as the contractor was already working on the Tappan Bay contract, which is just completed in May 2022. It is expected that now the Tappan Bay project is completed, the contractor will begin the Governor's Harbour work in short order. Abaco Seawall and Carriageway. The works include the construction of approximately 1,500 feet of concrete gravity retaining wall with a 5 feet wide concrete slab walkway adjacent to the seawall, scarifying or milling of the existing damaged road surface highway and replacing with hot mix asphalt where applicable. The cost is $1,027,000, and the works were awarded to Big Cat Construction from Marsh Harbour, Abaco. The original contract works are substantially completed, and the contractor is now working on a change order for an additional 300 feet of seawall to protect a vulnerable section of road in the crossing that was damaged during Hurricane Dorian. Crooked Island Seawall and Carriageway. Most of the roads in Crooked Island have been repaired, I'm advised, over the past 4 years, with the exception of Colonel Hill, which is in terrible condition. This project is an addition to the existing Crooked Island project and will involve the reconstruction of over 6 miles of roads in the Colonel Hill settlement. The additional work were approved by the Cabinet in April 2022, and the contractor, Caribbean Asphalt Products, is now remobilizing on site. Great Harbour Quay Airport Civil Works. The reconstruction and expansion of the Great Harbour Quay Airport, Barrie Island, commenced in May 2019. The contract was in 2 sections, one for the new terminal building and another for the airside civil works. The civil works involved the expansion of the apron and taxiway, the addition of two new turn pads, and resurfacing of the runway. In addition, a new car park is to be constructed with the complete fencing of the whole airport. The civil works was awarded to Knowles Construction and Development Company Limited at the original cost of works, which is now 75% completed. And the contractor is expected to remobilize to site after a long delay of inactivity. The new completion date for the civil works is set for September 2022. Madam Speaker, it is my honor at this time to highlight some of the new projects which my ministry wishes to commence in short order and based on the approval of the 2022-23 budget. New projects: Carriageway, Rehabilitation, Great Harbour Quay, Barrie Islands. Barrie Islands is a popular tourist destination. The island has just received a major improvement of the airport terminal and runway. The roads on the island, however, are in a poor state and need of rehabilitation. The project will involve over 17 miles of road reconstruction, at an estimated cost of $10.1 million. Cat Island road repairs and carriageway rehabilitation. Cat Island roads have been in disrepair for many years, Madam Speaker. The roads were constructed in 1992 and have not received any significant repairs since then. The proposed project will involve the road repairs and patching only island-wide. The cost of the project is estimated at $1,389,818. Rehabilitation of various roads in Bimini. The roads in Bimini are very important for the local and tourist economy. The roads were constructed in 2002. These roads have not received any major upgrades since then. This project will involve the rehabilitation and repairs to South and North Bimini roads. South Bimini will be done in hot mix asphalt, and North Bimini will be a combination of concrete in some places and hot mix asphalt in others. Madam Speaker, due to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas' geographic layout, the existence of ports, docks, and bridges are key to the sustainability of local communities. For these communities to thrive, this infrastructure must be kept in the best working condition. Therefore, significant research and surveys were done to determine what is required for maintenance, repair, reconstruction of these infrastructure. The following projects will be undertaken. Red Bays Road, North Andros. Red Bays Road is critical as the sole link between the main settlements of North Andros, such as Low Sound, Nicholstown, and Mastic Point, to the community of Red Bays. It is proposed, Madam Speaker, that these 19 miles of road should be reconstructed at a cost of $13.5 million using hot mix asphalt. The scopes have been completed, and it is expected that this project will be put out to tenders early as July, and it is expected to be funded from the supplementary budget. The glass window bridge. Madam Speaker, the replacement of the bridge structure is long overdue. Yes. And the proposed engineering consultancy that we propose to undertake will provide a comprehensive feasibility study followed by detailed engineering design for a new crossing along a new alignment. The glass window site is unique, and it is important that the selected option for replacement structure takes advantage of the character of the location for the benefit of the people of the Bahamas and visiting tourists. The replacement of the existing bridge crossing provides an opportunity to create a potentially world-famous feature that could attract additional tourism benefits. In December 2019, a contract was awarded to the Engineering Technical Services in the sum of $2,040,840, inclusive of VAT, to undertake the engineering studies and design of the replacement of the glass window bridge. The feasibility phase has been completed, with option 2 selected for detailed design. The detailed design phase is due to be completed in July of this year. And in early 2023, it is envisioned that construction of the new bridge will commence after consultation with the community and stakeholders in Eleuthera. It is my plan to hold a town meeting and public presentation of the proposed new bridge to the people of North Eleuthera in the very near future, and probably as early as the middle of July. I can assure the residents of that island that this project is ready to proceed. The glass window site is unique, and we also will be doing a number of other studies to ensure that it's designed in a way like the Angel Creek Bridge, so that there will be minimum disturbance in the water, but that the foundations of the bridge will be on the rocks and not in the water, so that you will have the free flow of the marine life and constructed as was done with Angel Creek in a sustainable manner. The Stafford Creek and Fresh Creek bridges, study and design. Both the Stafford Creek and Fresh Creek bridges, Madam Speaker, are in poor condition, with weight restrictions, and they can only accommodate single line traffic. In March 2020, a contract was signed with Caribbean Coastal Services in the amount of $990,000 to undertake the engineering studies and design of the replacement Stafford Creek and Fresh Creek bridges. The engineering consultancy has now undertaken a comprehensive feasibility study. The work studies have taken into account future demand, financial viability, climate impacts, including projected climate change, and other environmental and socio-economic issues relevant to the site. After careful consideration and analysis by both the consultants and the technical officers in the ministry, the preferred highest rated option for Fresh Creek and Stafford Creek Bridge are option 5 and option 3 respectively. Option 5 for Fresh Creek Bridge provides a 2-lane structure which meets the stakeholders' requirements and allow for the highest vertical clearance, thereby opening up the western territory of Andros for potential economic activities. And that is to allow boats and bonefish vessels and so on to travel and navigate under the bridge. Option 3 for Stafford Creek also provides a 2-lane structure and meets the stakeholders' requirement, but most importantly, it will greatly improve driver safety with the new highway alignment. The feasibility study summary with options was presented to Cabinet on the 12th of April, 2022. Madam Speaker, the time period for the detailed design and completion of the tender documents is 6 months from the approval being granted to proceed with the preferred option. The tender process and subsequent approval period will be approximately 4 months. It is anticipated that the construction of the new Fresh Creek and Stafford Creek can commence in February or March of 2023, which will be within this budget cycle. And I just want to say, Madam Speaker, that these projects are critical for the local community. And I just want to publicly announce and undertake that we will commence consultation within the community. We will present, the technical team will present the design of the respective bridges and get the wisdom of the local community to inform the process before we finalize and move forward. You want me to become the Minister of Housing? Okay, well, bridge repair and maintenance. And this is the Stanyard Creek Bridge. The bridge in Andros was in critically poor condition and urgent replacement was required. The old bridge, which was constructed, was causing environmental issues with the natural flow of the creek being restricted by the bridge abutments. The project also includes the construction of 5 culverts of 50-foot span on the causeway on the approach to the settlement of Stanyard Creek. These culverts, Madam Speaker, will allow for critical flow under the road, allowing the natural regeneration of the ecosystem and creek system. The replacement bridge is relocated to increase the overall span of the bridge. In November 2019, a contract was signed with Bahama's Marine Construction Company Limited. The new bridge was completed in January of 2021, and the new culvert bridges completed in June 2021. During the construction, however, additional works were required for added utility diversion works, increased dredging requirements, and further road paving. The additional cost are $942,132.40, and funding for those additional works has been made available in the ministry's budget should this honorable parliament pass the budget of 2022-2023. Completion of the Angel Creek Bridge, and this bridge, which we've reported on, was constructed for $5.3 million. However, Madam Speaker, additional costs have been incurred due to the complex nature of the project and the delay that had been caused by COVID-19 and the requirement to make the structure more resilient to climate change and storm surge. The additional funding that is required is $861,228.12, which will fund the installation of solar street lighting on the approaches to the bridge and construction of a boat ramp. The additional works will be completed in August of this year. This project is important for this community, and we are all aware of the attributes of this extraordinary bridge. The Davie Creek Bridge in North Andros. at a cost of $345,000. This bridge provides access into Low Sound across Davie Creek in North Andros. That it is a timber deck structure, is in poor condition and in urgent need of replacement. The new Davie Creek Bridge will be a new precast concrete bridge. Replacement of the Staniel Key Bridge in Staniel Key, Exuma. This timber bridge provides crossing over a small creek in Staniel Key, Exuma. The timber deck structure is in poor condition and in urgent need for replacement. It is proposed that the new bridge will be a precast concrete bridge that is much sturdier and will last longer. Repair to docks at Nicholstown, Red Bays, Low Sound, and Count Sound, North Andros. The proposed projects are the reconstruction of the public timber docks in Nicholstown, Red Bays, Low Sound, Count Sound, Andros. During the passage of Hurricane Matthew in October 2016, heightened wave and surge activity impacted the framing members of the timber dock structures, causing significant damage. These docks are key economic drivers for the various communities, hence the commitment to rebuild the damaged docks so that local residents and fishing persons can continue with their livelihood and rebuilding their lives. Each dock is 10 feet wide by 80 to 120 feet long, with an attached gazebo and fish cleaning station used by the local community residents and fishing persons. Additionally, the concrete ramps in Nicholstown, Red Bays, and Low Sound have deteriorated and are now not adequate for the existing boating needs. Thus, these will be rebuilt along with the timber docks. And tender packages for these docks are currently being issued for a total cost of $1.2 million. Refurbishment of Lisbon Creek Dock, Mangrove Key, Andros. The government dock at Lisbon Creek, and we were there about 3 weeks ago, The government dock at Lisbon Creek was in poor, dilapidated condition, and the approach channel required dredging to allow access for marine traffic. Therefore, this current project includes the refurbishment of the main public government dock with a reinforced concrete dock slab, bulkhead reconstruction, and the provision of marine ballards, cleats, and fenders. Additionally, dredging of the seabed in the vicinity of the dock and the approach channel will also be undertaken. Also, Madam Speaker, the improvement of the sea defenses in the nearby Burnt Rock community will be conducted as part of this project. And the works include the construction of a 334 feet section of mass concrete seawall at the site. Additional works identified includes the construction of additional dock walls and slabs on the western side of Lisbon Creek Dock. These works are inclusive of sea protection measures, backfill and compaction behind dock walls, minor dredging, provision of mooring cleats, and aluminum ladders. The proposed additional work will provide approximately 250 feet of additional docking space for local fishing persons. The contractor is AAA Marine and Transport Limited, and the contract amount is $2,316,071.52. The contracted works are 54% completed, and the estimated date of completion is September 2022. And repair of dock extension of runway and new terminal building in Moores Island. Madam Speaker, I had the privilege of visiting Moores Island last November on an inspection tour and saw for myself the state of the infrastructure. And you know, the Member of Parliament for Central and South Abaco was making vigorous representation to us. But I must tell you, Madam Speaker, when I saw the conditions in Moores Island, it really broke all of our hearts, because this is a thriving fishing community, a very productive, very sturdy, but it was just terrible. I am therefore pleased to inform this Honorable House as to what this government will do for the people in the community of Moores Island. Okay. The main mailboat dock in Hard Bargain Dock in Moores Island is constructed of timber and is in poor condition and is a high risk of collapse. It is proposed to construct a concrete piled dock, similar to that recently constructed in Sandy Point, Abaco. Dredging will be undertaken to facilitate access for vessels. A restroom will also be constructed at the facility. The timber fishing dock in Hard Bargain and the Bight have been damaged for many years, and the replacement repair is long overdue. New timber docks with ramps will be constructed at these locations, with dredging undertaken as necessary. A restroom will also be constructed at the Bight site. These works are to be undertaken by a local contractor and are due to commence in August 2022. And what is so memorable to me, because I saw Coach Williams on the dock, this famous coach who coached Stephen Gardner, our gold medalist at the Olympics, from a little boy, and coach him to become an Olympic champion. Mr. Williams waited for me at the door, waited for us and his Member of Parliament, right? And he said, Minister, please deal with this. And he took us around the dock. This is one of our most famous coach, and still coaching. So, you know, when you have that kind of representation, I mean, it affects you in a very profound, but objectively, it is the right thing to do. Construction of a new terminal building and upgrade, the extension of the runway. The airport and runway on Moores Island are in poor condition and below aviation standards. The terminal building, the runway works are due to start in this budget year. The construction period will be 24 months. And that is a new terminal building and upgrading the extension of the runway of at $12 million. Repair of government docks at Bullock's Harbour in the Barrie Islands. This proposed project is the reconstruction of the main public dock in Bullock's Harbour. The present use of the dock is for the mailboat service and local fishing person and leisure person. The dock is located on an exposed location on the west side of the quay and subject to wave action from the southwest and northwest. An assessment indicated that the structure is in a poor condition with some sections of the existing walls and bulkhead severely damaged from washout and erosion. It is not adequate in size and configuration for the use of the local stakeholders. The proposed project involves the reconstruction of dock area, enlarged facility to accommodate vessels, 350 linear feet of steel sheet pile dock wall with reinforced concrete bulkhead, 10,500 square feet of new concrete slab to the entire deck surface, and this dredging of the seabed in the vicinity, and installation of accessories such as fenders, bollards, and cleats at a price of $2.58 million. We also have the construction of the government dock at Andros Point, Crooked Island. The main mailboat dock in Crooked Island is located here, which was damaged since 2001 and experienced subsequent damages in 2015. To date, the existing location is still being used as the mailboat facility. At present, this existing dock location is very exposed, making it difficult for the mailboat to use the dock on occasions. The construction of the inland dock facility further east of the current location would alleviate the severe wave action and provide more accessibility for the mailboat to dock. The schematic design options are currently being developed by the external consultant with an estimation completion date of September 2022. The estimated cost is $1.9 million. Also, another project, Madam Speaker, is the construction and rehabilitation of the main mailboat dock and fisherman's dock at Rock Sound in Luthra. The main dock is in poor condition with severe deterioration to the concrete walls, collapsed retaining wall structure, and full destruction of the existing bulkhead. The site was restricted in size and unsuitable to accommodate the vessels. Similarly, the fisherman dock is in poor condition. The current project refurbish an existing mailboat dock to accommodate berthing of local mailboats and other vessels. This was accomplished through the installation of 446 linear feet sheet piles, 8,000 square foot of land reclamation, construction, and reinforced concrete. Madam Speaker, the contractor is A&D Gators Equipment, Rock Sound, and the current contract amount is $2.5 million. Madam Speaker, the infrastructure work of the ministry in our family islands continue. We have the repair of the Thomas Robinson Stadium. And this stadium is a critical facility, sports in paradise, also a number of government functions operated from that facility. And we have undertaken a building maintenance contract administration for the repair. And that particular, in June 2019, a contract was signed with Caribbean Coastal Services for the sum of $826,000 for this consultancy work. They completed the tender documents, and a tender exercise was undertaken in early 2021. Following the evaluation, it was recommended that a contract be awarded to Moscow. Construction Company Limited in the sum of $25.3 million. The government of the Bahamas is in negotiation with the People's Republic of China to secure grant funding for this project. The contract with CCS is on hold until the funding for the work is resolved. Fort Fincastle Water Tower renovations, and this is a historic attraction, Madam Speaker, in the Deco art design, right on the top of the 44, the steps, which, pardon? 66 steps, yes. Which was built by ancestors, and it is a historic site, and there will be a major reconstruction of this site, Madam Speaker, which will incorporate the surrounding communities of Mason Addition and make this into a destination where people can come, go up to the tower, see all of the New Providence, and also with the market at Fort Fincastle and other cultural attractions, have an authentic Bahamian heritage experience. And the works will include extensive concrete repairs to both external and internal areas. Building works will be undertaken to a new elevator will be installed, as well as restoration of the water tower. The existing straw market, which is presently located around the periphery, is to be relocated to the northern embankment of the site. The new straw market will improve pedestrian flow with better modern facilities. And here, the Antiquities and Monuments, which is our client in this project, is undertaken from the 66 steps going right back to Mason's Addition, a very comprehensive redesign of making this a cultural village. And the costs for the renovation will be $16.1 million. Madam Speaker, on the question of drainage, we are living in an island in New Providence, and many of our islands, which were not planned. In other words, the development was not in accordance with a land use policy. And in many instances, construction was done on wetlands. And the infrastructure that we now have would have been built in some instances 60 to 80 years ago, as is the case with Bay Street. And what you will note in this budget, for the first time, there is a line item, Madam Speaker, where we're talking about flood mitigation. It is not sufficient during these times to just go and clean wells. We need to now incorporate some new measures. So what we will be doing, Madam Speaker, is in certain key areas, we will be introducing, such as Pinewood, 600 feet, on Southern Shore, 600 feet wells. The only 600 feet wells is the Water and Sewage Corporation, the waste treatment facility on Gladstone Road. We also will be using tiger dams in some of the public spaces. We will put tiger dams and pump the water from the road and from people's yard to these dams. We also, in many of in the existing wells, we will use macro valves. In other words, part of the problem with our wells is when you have high tide, rather than the water going down, the water is coming up. So the macro valves is designed to keep the water down. from the high tide while the rainwater goes down. We will be introducing this into select wells this year for the very first time. And another measure which we would have gotten out of the Netherlands, we will be piloting this in Pinewood. The public park basketball court, we will excavate. And beneath the court, we will install a bricks system. And this is used very commonly in the United States, in Europe. And the surface will be redone, so you could still play basketball, do other things on the park, but the infrastructure will be underground, where through culverts and drainage systems, the water can go down there. It could be directed to wetlands, to the sea, and also utilized for fire hydrant whenever it is needed to fight fire. So we are looking at the best practices, Madam Speaker, from around the world and see how we could begin to do some things differently. We also, Madam Speaker, will be bringing to Parliament, once we finish the budget, a number of amendments. And perhaps a new Planning and Subdivision Act, so that we can better control. And I take the point to Member for St. Anne's, within the Act, there are anomalies between the Minister of Works and the Minister of the Environment. The Judicial Committee of the Privy Council has also made a ruling which we have to factor in as we revise our law. So we will bring this legislation. We also will amend the legislation dealing with the Building Control Act, so that there could be more resilience and better guidance to the building industry. We also, Madam Speaker, we will amend the building code so that we will take into account some of the measures you see in Florida and other places where you have to have a certain elevation in the building or have critical functions on the second floor of the building, and better integrate renewable energy in the construction design process. We're also talking with the architects, with the Society of Architects and Engineers, and we'll be putting forward a number of amendments related regulations after consultation with these professional bodies. And there will be, Madam Speaker, amendments to the Construction Contractors Act. This act was passed. This act was passed almost 4 years, and it had a transitional provision so that persons in the industry could be grandfathered in, and that provision said 2 years. That 2 years has passed a long time, and the only authority that can amend that law is the Parliament. So we will be coming back to amend that legislation. So from the ministry, as we move to build more resilience, we will also have a very active legislative. Thank you. We will have a very 30 or? Oh, good time.
You a real minister of works, so this is a good speech.
No, there's also in the Ministry of Finance, and we have also, with the programs with the IDB, we have also the number of what we call grant funding options that we are pursuing related to the People's Republic of China. And also next week, I'll be meeting with the members of the United States Congress in terms of the appropriation committee dealing, because this is a time where we're dealing with climate change. So we know that our resources are finite. So we have to look at sources of revenue, funding rather, to build the resilience that we need more quickly than would normally be the case. And that is why we are not only talking about what we're going to spend, but we're also looking at how we can bring more money in. And that's why the Prime Minister on the blue carbon credits that will come on stream this year. So the scientists are working as we speak with the mapping of the seagrass in the Bahamas, and for the verification, and then for the certification by the United Nations framework on climate change. Madam Speaker, in this regard, we have Bay Street and also York Street, Dalesville Street will be the subject of a major drainage overhaul so that we can deal with this perennial problem of ponding of water after periods of rain, and especially when it coincides with a king tide. Similarly, the Coral Harbour subdivision, Carmichael Road, Chippingham, Sea Beach Estate, all of these are areas we have identified and will be the focus of the drainage mitigation measures. Madam Speaker, a major project which I've reported on is the Andre Rogers Stadium. And this project, I'm very pleased to report to the House, is moving. The funding will, when we go, you'll see in the supplemental budget provision is made. And we are determined, Madam Speaker, to complete this project because we have, within this year, because we have engagements line up, baseball engagements to utilize the facility. So it's not only serving our domestic needs, it will also generate revenue for the country and be a major initiative in the Sports in Paradise initiative. And the present level of construction is now about 70% completed. The construction on the field has begun with the laying of fill to raise the field to the required height. The scoreboard and video boards are being installed. The stadium field lights are also on site, and the construction of the light pole base will begin the end of this month, 31st. The installation of the batting cages have begun, as well as the construction of the pitches, bullpen. The civil site works have begun, and the project completion date is estimated to be the end of November 2022. Thus far, $5 million of the additional $30 $1 million has been spent with an outstanding payment certificate for $6 million. It is critical that we lend to infrastructural development, our sporting facilities for the development of our population. And in this regard, Madam Speaker, during the trip to Andros, we visited the South Andros all-purpose gymnasium, and what a magnificent project. I mean, Madam Speaker, it shows what Bahamians can do, because you have some of our brilliant designers like Kirk Bullock, engineer, the Ministry of Works, and Carlos Butler, the architect, and then the great Stephen Knowles as the contractor. And this project, Madam Speaker, will provide for South Andros a magnificent shelter, a shelter in the time of a storm. And outside of a shelter, I mean a shelter with showers, with its own water system, generator, and solar, as well as facilities to accommodate all of the needs one would have during a hurricane, but also to serve the community and generate revenue where special events and so on could be held. So the Minister of Sports, I just want to say that the project stands at 70% completed. It should be completed in October of this year. And it is all-purpose, as the Minister for Honorable Member for Pine Ridge, as Minister of Grand Bahama, has been pushing for Grand Bahama. And I can say that what I saw in South Andros is a template that we should have in Grand Bahama and other parts of our country, so that when we make this kind of investment, we're also securing the population during times of crisis. Right. Madam Speaker, we also have a major project, and that is the Gladstone Road reconfiguration. It will be a dual carriageway, and it will avoid the bottlenecks for traveling from Carmichael Road up to our northern coast. So this project is a major project estimated to cost $29 million, and the completion time will be 2 years. We also have the design of several new schools, and I know the Minister of Education will cover these. They are critical because they also combine the multi-purpose function of being a shelter in the time of hurricane or any natural disaster. And the schools are also town centers. I mean, that's where the community come and have meetings and different events. So we have, the first of these is in San Salvador High School, and the second is in Inagua, and the third is in East Grand Bahama. And Madam Speaker, I just wish to say that one of the institutions which is critical is Bahamics, and we have a very able leader, Mr. Ryan Ramming, and his team have been working tirelessly along with the ministry to keep our roads in a state of repair. And this is the facility within the ministry that produces the asphalt. that enables us to pave our roads, and their work is critical to the provision of 20th century roads that our population have become accustomed. I also want to say that the BPL has, on my request, provided a contingency plan for the summer, because we don't want to have the summer come, which is a peak consumption period. And as minister, when the reporter asks me, well, you know, what's the plan? We have to have a plan, and I requested a plan for the peak period of the summer, where we will consume up to 260 megawatts. We have made provision for there to be up to 323.5 megawatts, so that we have available during the peak period more power than we would normally consume, so that we can have some redundancies and be able to respond when there is a failure of one kind or another. And to achieve this, Madam Speaker, there will be a number of rental agreements with Agreco and Sun Utilities, totaling 83 megawatts to provide adequate, highly reliable generation to complement the generation of BPL, which is normally at 241.5 or 1 megawatts, to meet the desired 323.5 megawatts to service the projected peak demand for 2022. The Agreco rental contract already exists, and the Sun Utilities contract was awarded on May 24th of 2022, and is expected to be commercially available on or before July 1st, 2022. 27 megawatts of Sun Utilities contract is dual fuel and can run on the cheaper heavy fuel oil. 16 megawatts of the Sun Utilities rentals will run on propane and will result in savings of up to $40 million in overall costs, including fuel, over the 12 months compared to the running the less efficient gas turbine at Blue Hills Power Station. In an effort to further manage costs, the following maintenance activities have been delayed until after the summer, but are required within the next 12 months. And it relates to Station A, number 7 engine overhaul at a cost of $2.3 million. The GT8 and GT9 major inspections at a cost of $8 million, and DA9, DA10, DA12, and DA13 completed this year, but required annually major overhauls at cost of $5 million. In an effort, Madam Speaker, to improve the operational condition of the main transmission and distribution infrastructure and mitigate against outages, my ministry shall implement 1, infrared inspection and correction of the major 132 kV transmission circuits utilized to detect weak electrical connections. 2, a load balancing exercise to continuously identify and correct electrical circuit loading, which reduces the risk of failure due to overloading, and also optimize its carrying load capacity. 3, a new vegetation management plan to identify and target high-value, high-risk lines and clear them of trees to reduce the impact on these overhead lines during extreme weather events. Primary transmission substation maintenance at all the primary substations around the islands, so that the critical facilities can have a high availability throughout the period. This aspect of the plan, Madam Speaker, is active and ongoing. A protection system of all primary transmission substations to ensure these systems operate as they should, protect equipment, and isolate faults. This aspect of the plan is also actively ongoing. Therefore, Madam Speaker, it is recommended that the additional sun utility rental units, 27 MW dual fuel and 16 MW propane, along with the existing Agreco rentals, which is 40 MW automotive diesel oil, and BPL own units supply adequate capacity to meet the summer demand of 260 megawatts. However, due to BPL's units having to forego maintenance in the previous years, this has reduced the reliability of BPL-owned units. This, coupled with the aging portions of the transmission and distribution system, can combine to still contribute to supply interruptions on the grid. These types of interruptions on the grid can typically be quickly restored unless the interruption is as a result of catastrophic failure of a large or critical item of the plant on the grid system. It is recommended, and here, Madam Speaker, we're talking really about contingency. This is what we call contingency planning, but in a very frank manner, reporting to our bosses, the Bahamian public, and to this honorable parliament, what the possible complications can be. But even with respect to those, Madam Speaker, we see that provisions and redundancies are being put in place to minimize system-wide interruptions. While speaking to matters relative to BPL, I wish to announce that the new Providence lighting program, LED lights, will commence in August. And Madam Speaker, this has been a vexing problem for all of us, because the lighting program ought to have started some time ago. And I've reported to this honorable parliament that there were conversations between the Caribbean Development Bank and the Ministry of Finance and BPL, and the government has decided to fund the provision of LED lights across New Providence. It will come from the consolidated fund. A contractor will be responsible for the procurement of the light, who has already been selected, and 4 other local contractors have also been selected to carry out the installation. And the following is a brief of what is proposed to happen. The government will fund the procurement of the fixtures, recovery of the existing lights, and installation of LED fixtures to be funded by the Caribbean Development Bank, since these matters have gone through the procurement process undertaken by BPL, then considered and approved by the Caribbean Development Bank. Environmental and social management plan, the government will fund. the climate risk and vulnerability assessment to be funded by the Caribbean Development Bank, the engineering services to be done under an expanded scope by BPL with additional resources identified as required to provide these services, and collection and disposal of used streetlights to be funded by the Caribbean Development Bank. So what we see, Madam Speaker, is the government just decided to provide the funding to ensure that we don't allow our country in the night to be in, and to just move to provide the LED lights, and working in partnership with the Caribbean Development Bank. Within a matter of months, we will have the lighting issue in the Bahamas resolved. And yes. I want to thank Mr. Pedro Roll, our executive chairperson, and the board for really doing an excellent work, and also to welcome Mr. Siobhan Cambridge as the CEO of BPL. And Madam Speaker, I just want to say, you know, that as Minister, I'm so pleased with Water and Sewage Corporation and our chairman, who represents the great constituency of North Eleuthera. And serves as your deputy, Madam Speaker, has been working very hard with the board. And I must say, Mr. Chairman, every month I get the minutes of your board, and I am briefed in terms of, and I can see the work being done by the board and getting the waste treatment plant going and extending the distribution of potable water in our family islands. And colleagues will note that one of the supplementary capital works is really the payment of outstanding fees, close to well over $50 million to the various partners of water and sewage in the provision of potable water in our family islands. My distinguished colleague from South Beach will focus much more in more detail on the Water and Sewerage Corporation, and also with respect to the straw market. And here, another authority, and I'm very pleased with the chairman and the board that has led us to the reopening of the straw market after 22 months being closed. And while the main market is staggered under the advice of the Ministry of Health, we have the other markets. Fort Charlotte, we will be building a new facility for the straw market in Fort Charlotte, and I'm asking stakeholders to just bear with us. I know it's a little rough, but you will be in new quarters very soon, and the contractor should be starting that work shortly. And similarly to our colleagues at Fort Fincastle. And I've spoken with some of the management at Atlantis with respect to the straw market at Atlantis, and also at Bahama, in terms of really ensuring that the stakeholders are properly accommodated and can have whatever concerns they have addressed. Madam Speaker, I just want to say that with respect to the Bridge Authority, you know, it's a little known authority, but it's very critical, and they did such a great job with the Sir Sidney Poitier recognition. When his death was announced, they mounted a display along the bridge, and as we commemorate Sir Sidney as a son of our soil next weekend, you will see that the Bridge Authority will again salute him in such a magnificent way with the images along East Bay Street and along the bridge. The Bridge Authority, I just want to say, has been also working very, very hard, and they have renovated the toll plaza and replaced the guard railing along the East Bay Street rump to the Sir Sidney Poitier Bridge. And in 2022, their key project is repair to the fender system that protect the piers to the bridge from maritime traffic, and other projects repair the landings on the fire escape stair wall, the existing railings, but they also, Madam Speaker, manage the bond. And many of our people have invested in the bridge bonds. And as we invest in more bridges, the mandate is that they will assume the management of some of our other bridges throughout the country, because they are a national authority, even though currently their focus is on the two bridges at Paradise Island. We also want to report to Parliament that they are currently undergoing recruitment for a financial manager, an HR manager, a toll operators. They're also finalizing their industrial agreement for line staff with the BCP OU, produced an employee handbook, and also published standard operating procedure, and pursuing revenue enhancement initiatives. Mr. Basil Longley, the chairman, I've been very, very pleased, and the dedication that he has pursued, along with a very, very active board. They have been very diligent, Madam Speaker, and it shows what public service is all about in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Madam Speaker, I wish to end my address by publicly thanking the hard-working team that comprise the Ministry of Works and its various agencies for what they have been able to achieve during this past year. And I send a shout out to colleagues on the Northern Compound, because these masons, carpenters, I mean, when the royal party came here, I saw them throughout these environs, fixing, cleaning, repairing, and different public spaces. And you know, we have to recognize that these colleagues, when they are motivated, I mean, look here, you could build an empire. And what we have committed to doing, Madam Speaker, I'm happy to report to Parliament, is we have spoken, and I personally have spoken to all of the staff members there. And with our Undersecretary, Mrs. Sharon Pratt-Roll, we have started now, and I want to thank the Minister for the Public Service. We had people there, we have persons who were not promoted in some instances in 20 years, in 10 years. We have a janitress who is working in the mechanic shop. And Madam Speaker, so sometimes she manages the mechanic shop, but yet she came in as a janitress. She's been there 18 years and is still a janitress and is managing any function in the mechanic shop needs to be done, she does it. So clearly, we have been addressing promotion, reclassification, appointments, and other outstanding issues because, you know, we could talk about bridges and roads and docks, but the most important infrastructure is the people.
Human infrastructure.
Thank you. The human infrastructure. I lead a team of true professionals from the Northern Compound and our far-flung offices in the Family Islands. And as I travel with my parliamentary colleagues and we go to our Family Islands, I must say, and I say to my colleagues in the Family Islands, not only must we do better, we will do better.
Yes.
Because when I sat with the staff in Mangrove Key, and I see how proud they were to be maintaining their community, but then no promotion, no tools, no bush hog. So we and everybody in the ministry knows this. We have to do better because when they are not equipped, that means we can't carry out our mission. And I want to thank our colleagues in our Family Islands and our leaders in our Family Islands. Miss Bannister, I hope I see you before you go back to Grand Bahama. Oh, she is. Oh, she is. At the beginning of my address, I indicated that a budget was about more than macro figures. I said that it must be real. In this presentation, Madam Speaker, I trust that I have been able to show how this 2022-23 budget will affect the individual and families throughout the Bahamas. The built environment, whether it be roads, docks, bridges, buildings, harbors, the provision of electricity and water is important to all of us. My role and that of the ministry is to ensure that we deliver in a timely and effective manner which you, the citizens of the Bahamas, expects of its government. I pledge that I will do all in my power to ensure that this is done as I carry out the mandate of this government. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for Central Grand Bahama.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much. I noticed we have before in the gallery Mr. Darren Roll from the Falcons Boys Club, one of the largest mentoring programs we have in this country. So, Mr. Roll, we'd like to recognize you and thank you for the stellar job that you're doing in our country. To the minister now, I was waiting to hear about this. Yeah, he's my cousin from Waterkey. All of our cousins. Yes. Thank you once again, Darren, for your wonderful job. To the minister, I was waiting to hear about this dock in Waterkey. You know, we still have an issue with that. We have several homes under construction, and we have new construction, but as it now stands, persons would have traveled to the island with materials in their small boat, their dinghies, and by the time as you pull up on the shore and offload you're tired. I remember lifting my sisters out of the boat to go into the mainland because the access dock has been torn down. And if we're talking about building a more resilient Bahamas, we have to consider this. And I do believe that. But yes, yeah. No, I'm just, no, this is not controversial. I'm saying this, growing up in Waterkey, we had a concrete dock. And our structural engineer could attest to this. We broke the concrete dock down and built a timber dock. And throughout the family islands, every time you have a storm surge or hurricane, we lose money. So we have to perhaps start thinking about building more resilient structures where these docks are built in phases using reinforced concrete, as it will save us in the long run. By way of information too, sir, I would just like to say to you that I went out to Smith's Point Fish Fry on Monday, and that very special defense wall that we have in Smith's Point, there's an abundance of casuarina trees growing up now more than 14 feet at the base of that wall, very destructive. So I think we need to look at removal of those trees to prevent damage to that structure. Also, the safety rail, from the land side, it looks like it's in perfect condition, but I made it my business. I look over on the seaside, and it's being corroded. No, it's East Grand Bahama, but it is a part of our infrastructural system. And I noticed, Minister, that on the seaside, the safety rail is now corroding. So perhaps you should allow the team to go ahead and investigate that and perhaps sandblast it and paint it as a part of our maintenance program. And finally, the access road to Waterkey, sir. It has not been repaired since Basil Nimor, sometime in 2000. And besides, I'm glad you're listening, sir. Besides the residents, local bonefish guides use that road to carry the guests out to make money to feed their families. And therefore, they're breaking up their trailers on a regular basis. So I just want to bring it to your attention that access road also needs some attention, sir. Thank you.
The Honorable.
Glad you're listening.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member for Central Grand Bahama would have contacted me several weeks ago concerning the dock at Waters Key. And immediately upon your inquiry, I spoke with the PS, and I know he would have spoken with the civil design section of the Ministry of Works, and I asked for them to prepare and provide me with a scope of works for the repair of that dock. And I take your point. And in fact, I've announced that what I saw in Sandy Point, to me, seemed like an ideal template in terms of docks in our family islands. And if the means were there to do all of them that way, but certainly I can say that the scope for the repair of the dock at Waters Key is being done. And I thank you for bringing to my attention with respect to the threats to the seawall at Smith's Point, because I mean, that also to me is like a template, because it's really of an excellent seawall and one that seems to be resilient. And certainly we don't want no casuarina to start breaking it up. So I will ask and communicate with our team in Grand Bahama to do an inspection and report. Yeah.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for East Grand Bahama.
And I want to congratulate the Minister for Works in such a detailed presentation. It was a very informative presentation. I wanted to also support what you were saying in terms of the dredging between Jamestown and Sweetingski, and endorse the comments you made. It is a matter that is an urgent need. They sent me some photos the other day. It almost appears as though you could walk from Sweetens Key to McLeanstown when the tide is low. And exactly. And so that we would definitely support that. I didn't hear any mention about the High Rock seawall, the repair of the High Rock seawall. That was it's really an iconic sort of area where you have the Bishop's Lodge that's there. What you call it? The lighthouse, and the Sea Fest is there as well. It has been destroyed as a result of Dorian. I believe there were some studies that were being done, and so if we could again do a follow-up. The rain that came in as a result of this recent storm sort of just emphasized the need. It didn't get over the road because it's still pretty high, but it just showed the vulnerability that was there, as well as the dock in Sweetens Key. The NGOs did some attention to putting in place a concrete dock there, but for whatever reason, it was not completed. And Ministry of Works needed to take a look at it in terms of the completion of it. But again, we know that there is a great need throughout the Bahamas. And so we just wanted to bring those to your attention as well. But again, congratulations on a very detailed presentation.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for St. Anne.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the member from Fort Charlotte, you mentioned the LED lighting program will begin in August. The sun rises in the east. Does that mean that St. Anne's will receive installations first? But more importantly, is there a scope of timeline that this project will take? There's 10 million budgeted. Will there be enough installers on the ground, or is this going to be a project that's going to last this entire first year or the entire term?
Well, it is a project of urgency, and I'm not going to guess the exact rollout. But I will undertake to get the rollout, and so that I can report and provide realistic dates and areas in terms of what the approach is at the technical level, and report back so that honorable members would have and can inform our various constituencies what to expect.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Chair recognizes the Honourable Member for St. Barnabas.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honourable Member for Fort Charlotte, I know we had spoken before regarding this matter, but just wanted to emphasize or to bring to your attention again, we know the country continues to deal with, the continuous flooding, but in particular in my constituency, the areas of Coconut Grove and Big Pond have historically been challenged as well. I know that it's not the only communities on the island of New Providence, but whatever attention can be paid to those areas in particular, the residents of those areas would appreciate it very, very much. Thank you.
And in the ministry, Mr. Henry Moksiewicz, our senior engineer, with flooding issues, has a map of New Providence and certainly Coconut Grove and Big Pond. And they've laid out all of the scientific reasons for it, what is in the valley, and various topographical configurations that result in flooding. So Coconut Grove and Big Pond, certainly is on the list. And therefore, within the zones, because they've divided New Providence into zones, that's certainly a zone which is for coverage. Okay.
As many? Chair recognizes.
Madam Speaker, this would be an appropriate time for us to break for the lunch. We'll return at 3 o'clock this afternoon to continue the debate.
Thank you, Honorable. Is there a seconder? Second. It has been moved and seconded that the business of this House be suspended until 3 p.m. All those in favor will remain seated. Those opposed will stand. The motion is agreed. The business of this House is suspended until 3 p.m. Everybody in a rush today.